Care and maintenance. Taking care of your tuba is important if you want to play your best. There are several precision parts that need to be maintained, or you will feel the frustration of your equipment preventing you from performance success. You also want to know your limits and when to call in a professional. As a teacher or as a student, I encourage you to develop a great relationship with professional technicians and be proactive in general service. These people can be your savior in an emergency and will often save you money in the long run by extending the life of your instrument through routine maintenance. Preventing problems starts with making sure that your tuba is always in a safe environment. Make sure that you allow enough space between players. If there is not adequate room, instruments will bang chairs, stands, or other objects, causing damage. When not in rehearsal, tubas should be properly stored in a hard case, in a place that doesn't encourage students to sit or climb on them. If you don't have a hard case, I would strongly encourage having a locker or other system that protects the tuba. Holders that place the tuba on the wall are commercially available, but often simple things can be built. In my school studio, I have a platform that raises my tuba up off the floor about 3 inches. This ensures that people don't walk too close to or step on the bell, or the vacuum cleaner doesn't inadvertently hit my horn. Tubas can rest on the bell without concern as long as they are placed down gently with equal pressure on all parts of the bell. Avoid pivoting on one side before finishing the placement. This process, especially repeated over time, places strain on the bell's structure. If the tuba rocks when placed on the floor, the bell has already been bent and you should make sure the problem doesn't worsen. I encourage you to place the side of the tuba against the wall in all cases, but especially if bell damage causes the tuba to rock. Tubas are difficult to transport, and students often have trouble figuring out where they should grab the tuba. In short, you can pick up the tuba in several ways, but never by the valves, thumb ring, lead pipe, or tuning slides. I carry mine most often by the top bow, but smaller students might have trouble with the bottom bow hitting the floor. These students might want to wrap an arm around the bell. As I stated before, hard cases protect your tuba the best, but most professionals opt for a gig bag instead. The convenience of carrying the instrument has to be weighed against the level of protection. One thing is for sure though, make sure that anything else in your case is secured. Folders, stands, and tools can scratch the finish and put unknown pressure on parts of the tuba. The most offensive object when left unrestrained is the mouthpiece. It is dense and causes a lot of damage to the tuba if it's allowed to bounce around inside a case. One thing that we must do often is oil valves. There are 2 types of valves, rotary and piston. Rotary valves rotate and are connected to the finger paddles by linkage. Piston valves move up and down directly under the fingers. Piston valves will need to be oiled about once a week. There are many types of valve oils, and piston valves require the thinnest oil. These oils are usually marked, indicating that they are the best for piston valves. Unscrew the top cap to access the inside of the valve. Pull the valve out and spread oil liberally on the valve. When you place the valve back in the casing, you must align the valve guide with the valve guide slot. If you don't, the valve will not go in. Since the ports in the valves must align perfectly, make sure that the first valve goes in the first casing and the second in the second, and so forth. If you place the valves in the wrong casing, you may not be able to blow any air through the horn at all. Each valve does have a marking somewhere on it to identify which valve it is, so you can confirm that the valves are in the right casing. With the guide aligned in the slot, press the valve down and screw the top cap back in place. Rotary valves are a bit more complex. You will want to oil these valves in 2 different ways. First, using a thicker oil marked rotary oil, examine the linkage for any pivot points and place a drop of oil on each point. Most rotary oils will come in a bottle with a needle attached for precision placement of the oil. By removing the cap on the back side of the valve, you will be able to see a small inner part that rotates. Place a drop of oil here as well. The general rule is to place oil on any part that creates friction against another part. The oiling of these parts outside the tuba is not done as frequently, perhaps once a month. The inside of the rotary valve is another story. The inside of these valves function like piston valves and requires the same oil as the piston valves. Getting the oil where it belongs is going to be different from tuba to tuba. My tuba is fairly easy. I can simply pull the main slide and drip the oil directly into the valve section, allowing gravity to take the oil through all valves. Many tubas will have a bend in the tubing and the main slide will pull towards the side rather than directly down. To avoid the oil mixing with tuning slide grease and ultimately washing that slide grease into the valves, take the tuning slide out. Put the oil in the tuning slide and be careful to observe where gravity might take the oil. Push the slide all the way in and let the oil flow into the valve section. Pushing in the slide the whole way prevents the oil from picking up slide grease as it flows. Greasing tuning slides is pretty simple. We want the slides to move easily, so place some slide grease on the tuning slide covering all sides and work it in. There are many different products of varying thickness and the choice is a personal preference. Many professional players move slides while playing, so we choose to have the slides move very fast. Other players might prefer a thick grease so the slides do not unexpectedly move. Perhaps the easiest maintenance experience is cleaning your horn. Tubas should be cleaned by placing them in warm but not hot water. Use plain dish soap to break down the oils and grease and some vinegar to dissolve simple mineral deposits. Remove as many parts as possible and certainly the felt pads underneath the valve caps. Use a snake with a nylon brush to clean the lead pipe and slides near the valve section. For thoroughly cleaning the valve casings on piston horns, use a cleaning rod similar to what flutes use. When putting the tuba back together, remember to place all of the valves and slides back where they came from, and of course, oil valves and grease slides. There are a few repairs that most music educators should learn to do at some point to avoid the cost of a technician. Stuck mouthpieces will require a special tool, but is fairly easy to use. Dents in the mouthpiece shank should be removed with a truing tool and a rawhide mallet. Spit valve corks can be replaced with simple supplies and a drop of glue. The repair technician should be called for sonic or chemical cleanings, dent removal, stuck tuning slides, chronic sticky valves, valve alignment, and any valve guide issues. In comparison to many other instruments, the tuba doesn't tend to require many trips to the repair technician's shop, especially if you take the simple steps I have outlined in this video. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.